Good. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Probably like, Taylor, where's the guest? Well, I have some news for you. I'm gonna let people tune in here and just say, hey, when you get here. But I'm kind of changing things up. I'm going back to my roots. I want to, I never lit my candle this morning. I need to light my candle. Let me do that real quick while people are tuning in. We're in fall candle season. If there's anything about me, your boy loves some good fall candles. I'm a big candle guy. So I'm burning. It's a company called, what's the company called? Primarily Pure. It's more of like a natural candle. It's good. I got the fall vibes going. So, but going back to my roots, there's been, I'm excited to go back to this. I had somebody tweet me, and they're like, "Hey, what are you?" Actually, Jason, it's funny. So going back to brunette, this is the last time I got colored. I'm actually going back to being a brunette. Actually, we haven't talked about that. Our one-on-one is here in a bit, but I am going back to being a brunette. Just FYI, in case if really anybody was interested, going back to being a brunette. So, I'm going back to my roots and doing more solo shows for Guidance Counselor 2.0. Kind of a few reasons for this. Somebody tweeted at me this morning. They're like, what's the, yeah, I know. I need to trim that wick. Yeah. It's so funny. You caught that. Yeah. It's real bad, but I'm live, so I'm not going to cut it right now. A few reasons for this. First off, I love interviewing guests. It's something I've done for 5 years. Yeah, Barrett, dude, everything's so expensive these days. Everything's so expensive. Candles, food, groceries, nuts. That's a whole nother conversation for another day. But I want to go back to solo shows for a bit. To be totally frank, one of the reasons is I just haven't done a good enough job at getting people on the show. I've kind of stopped inviting people just because I've been so busy. But really also too, I feel like the engagement's a little different. We can kind of hang out a little bit more. And so usually the engagement's, kind of different in the chat. But also too, I think I want to go back to really producing content as it relates to specifically the job search. And really what I want to do is really go back to nitty gritty type job search stuff. When I interview guests, it's more high level career. How are you doing things? How did you do things? Where are you at in your career? And so for me this time, I really want to bring it back and get really practical, tactical. I think one of the things too, in full transparency, we are getting to the point where the platform, the new Torp platform, is very close to being dropped, or released rather. I want to house a lot of this content on the platform. Streaming it here, but then we're going to repurpose it, edit it, and have it very concise and succinct on the platform. So that's another reason why I'm doing it. So I'm going to break down topics. I'm still going to go live a little bit sporadically. We're going to try to, I'm going to do my best to work with Ange and the internal team to make sure that you guys get invites when you need it. But for the most part, I'm going live today. I'm going live tomorrow. Today, we're going to do resumes. Tomorrow, we're going to do LinkedIn's. And then next week, I'll go live next Monday as well. It's going to be a little bit more sporadic. So just keep a lookout on the events. Also, I'm going to take suggestions too, right? So if you guys are dealing with something, I really want to expound on it in these lives. Really, I was looking at my calendar for the rest of the year, and I'm actually looking through it one more time. It looks like I only have one more live. So I have Emma Boston at the end of November 26th, the day before Thanksgiving. I'm going live with her but then other than that, that's pretty much about it. So again, just us, just hanging out. So I want to start about resumes. Now, I do have to say, listen, if you want resume help, this is something we do in the Torque Discord all the time. Jason's in the chat right now. We do a ton of resume reviews, resume overviews, resume critiques. We get to about 3 to 4 a week. And so, yeah, I can do portfolios. We do portfolios too, right? So definitely jump in the Discord. We have a channel where you can post if you want your resume or portfolio reviewed. We have done those. But today I'm going to focus on resumes specifically. And I'm going to go kind of line by line on what I like to see, what I don't like to see. Again, a lot of this stuff is regurgitated from the Torque Discord, but I want to have it out to you all. I want to be able to have a place where I can direct people to. So we're going to start bare bones, right? Like, so my whole entire goal for this series, I'm going to stop yapping here and get into it here in a second. My whole entire series is like, hey, you get laid off, I'm going to walk you through the entire job search process for you to be successful. And there's a lot to unpack. So I'm going to do this over the next kind of 8 to 10 weeks. So y'all hang on. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right. So let's go ahead and go to resumes. So I created this resume template myself. Jason, my coworker, rolled his eyes at me because we already have a ton of content, but I'm glad I did this because I'm actually obviously using this for the live. All right. So that is way zoomed out. All right, cool. So let me zoom it again. All right. So let's talk about resumes. First off, yes, Jason, if you want to drop in that resume editor too. Also, I'm going to take out the comments too, just because I can't really see the screen. All right, so we're going to do this right here. All right, and then I'm going to get to everybody in here as well. But again, thank y'all for tuning in. It's great to see y'all's faces this morning. All right, so let's talk about kind of the first major issue that Jason and I see all the time when we review resumes. But I want to talk about here again. And it's really, I wish there was a pointer here. You can't really see it. So I'm going to go back to my doc. Is this up here, right? So like this area right here, the header, and I'm trying to make this to where people who are listening to this can also see it in their heads too. So the header of your resume, where your name goes, where your email goes, the problem I see a lot with folks is that y'all put like way too much information there. And it's really big. Like I've seen some headers take up, like, I'm not kidding you, a third of the page. Listen, your name doesn't need to be in 32-point font. It just doesn't. Right. And so, and also too, like one of the things that we were kind of talking about is like, do you need your address in today's world? That's kind of TBD. I mean, I think no address, unless you're obviously trying to get a job locally and the job requires you to be local. Having your address is obviously a good thing. But for the most part, I would say, hey, let's not have your address out in public anymore. I think the internet's kind of a weird place. Also, another thing too, I'm gonna put here job search email. Like I would truly have a job search specific email, because the last thing you want to do is like be navigating your personal inbox. Like, you know, the holidays are coming up. You got email invites from family. You know, you got Christmas lists going sent back and forth in email. For me, like I would have a job search specific email where you have everything kind of in one, and then you can obviously create subfolders and all that jazz. So for me, I think a job search email, I think having your name first and last in bold, and then your LinkedIn profile and your GitHub, if applicable, or your portfolio. For me, I think I've seen managers. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a second, Riley. I would say the way I have it written is not too crazy. I do think a decent enough amount of bolding does make sense and catches people's eyes. But we'll kind of unpack that in a minute. And again, Ryan, it's good to see you this morning. I'm off and kid had no school. We have no school tomorrow with the kids. So for me, name first and last, job search email, LinkedIn profile, GitHub, pretty self-explanatory. Jason in the chat on my LinkedIn dropped actually our template, the version that he created. You can plug in your information. So I want to go down. So I don't want to go too much too deep on the top. Don't make it big. This font is 11 font. It's Arial. It's very easy to read. I would just keep it like that. All right, so let's go to the next part, which is the professional summary portion, right? So the professional summary portion, and I kind of wrote this in here. This should be a bullet pointed out list outlining your years of experience as it relates to the type of role you're trying to pursue or about your career background, right? So one of the biggest things that we're having issues with, or not issues with, that we've seen kind of in the Torque resume reviews, is that if you're more junior in your career, how do you frame this part versus when you're more senior in your career, right? So for me, in my opinion, if you are senior in your career, this should be a pretty easy thing for you to do, right? So let's say you're applying to a staff engineer role that has some leadership skills, and you're in the .NET space, right? So what I would put here is like 10 plus years of overall engineering experience in React. Let's say this job requires some or .NET. Let's say this job requires some React. Of 10 years of overall experience in .NET. I have 7 years using React. I have 3 years of leadership experience in managing nearshore, offshore teams. To get quantitative, like leading teams up to 7, or leading teams up to 7 in both Latin America and India. Get really specific. I think a lot of times is that a lot of us like write a sentence, but there's so much more context that could be given, and we just kind of stop, right? So for me, instead of saying 5+ years of leading teams, it's 5+ years of leading global teams, both nearshore and offshore in LATAM and India, right? That is a much better bullet point. But if you're on the more junior side, depending on how junior you are, Jason and I just reviewed a junior resume recently. This person had 1.5 years of experience, right? That is enough experience to bullet point out your professional summary, right? 1.5 years of overall professional experience. I have 6 months of using .NET. I have 3 months of using React. I have 6 months of using PHP. Like, that type of stuff needs to be in the professional summary section. If you are having a hard time creating your professional summary section on your resume, the biggest cheat code that I will tell you is go to a resume, go to a job description of the job that you want, look at it, and then reverse engineer what the job is wanting, the nice to haves and must have skills, and put it in your professional summary. In my opinion, if your professional summary is really, really good, you're going to get more calls. When I was a recruiter, when I was like a heads down recruiter, if your professional summary had the required and nice to have skills, I wouldn't even read the rest of your resume. I would call you, because again, you have to realize recruiters, both agency and internal, and hiring managers do not have time to read through long resumes. So for me, and I know this is kind of an intense analogy, if you hit them between the teeth, or you hit them between the eyes, or hit them in the teeth, whatever you want to say, up in the top third of your resume, you're going to get calls. Another thing I want, holy LinkedIn not working today. Great. Perfect. Awesome. Well, I'm on YouTube too. So, another thing too, like the first page is the most important part of your resume. Even more so, really, the first third of it. So like what I have bolded here is basically the most important part, right? Your professional summary needs to be nailed down, and then you need to really hit me in the teeth with really good skills right here, right? And so I think a lot of times, and again, we see this time and time again when we're reviewing resumes, so many of y'all leave the top third part of your resume to be desired, right? There's so much data that you're not including, that you're not telling a story. And so again, the top third, if you get anything out of this stream this morning, is the top third of your resume on the first page is the most important part of your resume, and it's going to be the thing that's going to get you calls, right? So again, professional summary, very straightforward. I would keep this at most 7 bullet points. Probably 5 is a little bit better. And again, if you do have a technical degree, that carries a lot of weight. I would also tell you this too. If you are shorter on bullet points, maybe include a huge, maybe include a big accomplishment, right? So maybe you are, maybe you're only a year into your career, 1.5 years into your career, but you worked on a website on a team that has 500,000 users. Again, I'm making this up here. To me, I would include that in your professional summary, right? A little bit of a zinger, get people's attention, right? But again, professional summary, incredibly important. 5 to 7 bullet points, high level about your background. And again, it's not feasible to edit your resume for every single position that's open that you apply to. you edit your professional summary for each position you apply to. And again, what that includes is going to the must-haves, nice-to-haves in the job description of the position you're trying to apply to, and then update your professional summary as it relates to those skills. And again, if I'm a recruiter, if I'm a hiring manager, and you can specifically list out the skills that my job description needs in the professional summary, I'm going to call you probably 8 out of 10 times. Again, I'm just making up that number. All right. Any question on the professional summary, ask them. I'm going to move on. I know there's a little bit of a lag when it comes to the stream, so you ask them, but then we'll go back to it if any questions. All right. So let's talk about the professional experience, right? So I want to go back to Riley's comment about bolding. The way I have this bolded is how much bolding you should include, which is not a lot, right? I would have your name bolded. I would have the professional summary portion bolded. I would have professional experience bolded. And I would also tell you too, like one of the biggest things we see is that too many people are putting too much bold in their resume. This template right here, and again, the template that Jason created, where you can go in and plug things in. Again, for those of you who are listening to this in the future, Torque resume template.vercel.app right here. For people who are watching, go to that. You can plug in your information. It generates a PDF for you. But again, too many people are bolding. And also, you got to understand something. If recruiters are already control effing your resume. I've seen it time and time again. Most recruiters are not technical. So for example, if you're a Java developer and you never say, or let's say you're a Java developer and you only use the verbiage Spring Boot or JVM or JSP. I understand these are older language or frameworks. Please don't come at me. But you don't have the word Java in your resume a lot, you're going to get skipped over, right? A lot of recruiters are not technical, and all they do is they look at the job description, and the job description goes 7 years of Java. And then if they control F your resume and you don't have Java a lot littered in your resume, they're probably going to skip over you. Again, it's stupid, I know, but it's where we're at, and it is what it is. All right. So it's the same. Yeah. So I want to go on to your professional experience, right? So the way I wrote this is, if you've been at a company and you've changed positions, but also too, it still applies, right? So for me, always name of the company. I would always do month and year, start and end date, right? A lot of recruiters like to see that. When you just put 2025 to 2026, that is very vague. For me, it's like, did you start the job in December of 2025 and get laid off January of 2026, right? Like, you need to put start and end date with months and years. You have your title. And then I would state if this was remote or in a specific city, right? Again, I know companies are wanting people back on site. I think you got to toe that line a little bit. Telling me if it's a remote role, right? If like for me with Torque, like we're hiring fully remote. If you have years of experience in a remote specific role, I need to see that, right? If you have 7 years of working in jobs that have been fully remote, that to me knows you can work in a remote environment. So I would specifically say if you are based in a specific city and state, or if it's remote. All right. The next thing I want to go on, the next thing I want to highlight is this part right here. Quick high level of the company. It's important now more than ever to provide context of the company you work at, industry, approximate revenue, right? So for me, and I've talked to a lot of hiring managers lately to confirm this. We are not where like you 16 languages kind of a mile wide and inch deep and get hired anymore. We're not there anymore. We were there in 2021, 22. We're not there anymore. So for me, one of the things that I've continually to talk to hiring managers and engineering leaders is that they also want to know what industries you're coming from, right? So if you are in the defense space and you have worked for defense contractors, and you've maybe worked for smaller defense contractors that I may not be aware of, you need to put the company and the industry and what they do as a summary in your resume. This allows the reader, again, an internal recruiter, an agency recruiter, or even a hiring manager who may not know like if you're not working for like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, Boeing, or any of those the big players in the industry, somebody may not know the company you're at, so you can't assume anything, right? Jason and I talk about all the time in our resume reviews. You cannot assume anything in your resume. So for me, always adding a quick high level of what the company does, the industry. Also would love to know approximate revenue, right? This allows the reader to know, hey, is this person coming from a small company or is this coming from an enterprise company, right? That signals to the individual based off the job they're trying to hire for if you could potentially be a fit. So again, please make sure that in your resume you have a high level summary of the company you're working at. Prime example for my dad, right? My dad ran the Outback Steakhouse for 25 years in our hometown. Everybody knows who Outback Steakhouse is. I would still put the summary there, but my dad now is working for a restaurant called Taza Kitchen in Columbia. Taza Kitchen is a much smaller restaurant. Most of y'all may not have heard of it. So he needs to, I have told him this, you need to put what the company does, what they specialize in, the type of food they specialize in, and approximate revenue a year, right? So moving into the bullet points. And again, the way this is formatted is very easy on the eyes, right? So you have to realize the top few bullet points are the most important on the first page. This should be the heaviest hitting bullet point. The key to writing a really good resume is to get as quantitative as possible. I don't need a list of tasks. And then how did you increase revenue? How did you increase users? How did you decrease runtime, etc.? Right? Again, we're talking about the first third of the first page of your resume and the top third of it being the most important. The first 3 bullet points in your latest position should be the most impactful parts of your resume, right? Like for me, you need to, if you had not caught my attention from the professional summary portion, then you need to really catch my eye in the first 3 bullet points of your latest position. If you have not done that, then I'm probably not calling you. Another thing is like Jason and I reviewed a resume recently, and it was very lengthy, it was very wordy, and it didn't really it didn't really tell any story, right? Now again, I'm not saying that you need to be out here like painting, like writing a novel, a fiction novel or nonfiction novel, but you need to be telling me, hey, was brought in for this reason. Here's what I've done. Another thing that I didn't add here is in terms of how you should write your resume. You should never write your resume in first person, right? I did this, I did that. For me, I think it needs to be one of the things right here. I'll add this right here. Each bullet point should start with an action verb, right? I'm not good at grammar. For example, like achieved or accomplished X, or managed Y, or developed Z, right? Like it needs to be the start of each sentence should be an action that you took and then outline it, right? People call it the STAR method, but what I would do is, what did you do? What tools did you use and to solve it? And then what was the result, right? So, achieved a 200% lower runtime on the performance of this application by implementing Rust. Again, I'm making this up here, by implementing Rust that allowed the business to gain more users or something like that, right? Again, it needs to be very specific. What did you do? What tools did you use to solve it? And what was the outcome? That should be kind of the framework of each bullet point. Also, too, one of the things that I do consistently, and I did it with my resume, is every bullet point should carry weight. Every bullet point should carry meaning. If I am not in your or if I'm in your industry and I read your bullet point, the response should go, "Oh, this is awesome." Right? "Oh, this is good." Or, "Oh man, this is amazing." Right? If for the most part, if your bullet points are not giving that type of resounding feedback or response in your brain, you need to edit that bullet point and make it more impactful. LinkedIn user comes in here, goes, I've always tried to avoid using words like assist or supported initiatives and accomplish them with actual initiative accomplishments. What do you think about that? Yeah. So again, this is a great question here. I've always tried to avoid using words like assisted or supported initiatives and swapped. Yes, I love that. Can I do this? This is a little bit better. This is a little bit better. It's kind of weird. What about this? No, not that. Look at this. Oh. All right, so we'll do this. I think this is a little easier also too for the editor. So yeah, so when it comes to, I've always avoided using words like assisted or supported initiatives and swap them with actual initiatives. Correct. I think one of the biggest things that you need to make sure that you write about in your resume is what did you do and what were you a part of? There's nothing wrong with saying I assisted I was on a team that helped that did this. Here is what I did. But I think the biggest thing is always try to say, this is what I did. Don't use the words assisted or supported. I totally agree with that LinkedIn user. I think it needs to be, I manage this. But again, we're not writing in first person. So manage this or achieve this or drove this initiative, right? Again, it's I'm not hiring your team. I am hiring you for this role, right? So I need to be able, and I'm okay with one or two bullet points giving me some context of the team you were on, what the team was responsible for doing. I think that's great. I think that's fine. But I think when it comes down to it, you need to give specific action words and take ownership of specific things that you have done. I think it's incredibly important. Let's see here. Another thing, I'm kind of reading through my bullet points too. Yeah, again, my biggest advice is what were you required to do? How did you solve it? And what technologies did you use to solve it? Right. Another thing I want to highlight too is the technologies used bullet point, right? 90%, 95% of resumes that Jason and I review consistently do not have this specific bullet point. The reason why this bullet point is so big is this is mainly for recruiters to be able to control F and find you that has more technical jargon in your resume, right? If you do not include the technologies used, you are missing out on the ability to be found online, which is incredibly important. So again, you need to litter each bullet point with technologies you use to solve a problem. And then at the last bullet point of each position, put technologies used and then literally bullet point everything out. Even if you're a product manager, my bro's in product, right? He's using AI tools and sometimes some wireframe, Figma, whatever. Like even if you're non-technical in the technical field, you are still touching tools, right? So for me, right, and it's good to see you, buddy. I saw your Slack. I'm going live tomorrow too, by the way. This was just a last minute decision, but for me, I think it's incredibly important. Technologies used, make sure you include that. Also, another thing that I want to highlight in this format that I put here is, for me, if you have grown in the organization, you should write your resume to where the name of the company and the title. So this is a little nuanced here, but what I would do is I would put, so if you've been at the same company for a long time and you've risen through the ranks, I would edit this slightly, right? So I would put this. So what I would do is I would do this, and then I would do title with what you're currently at now. Then I would tab over, and then I would do this, right? And then I would put your position before that down here and the start and end date down here, because one of the things that I have seen consistently when it comes to people writing their resume, when it comes to how they've been at the company, is they break up and they make it read like it's another company. And so my eyeballs go, why is this person bouncing around every year or two? Because that's the way people's eyeballs read. That's why using bold font in a certain way is incredibly important, Because for me, the way my eyeballs read is go, okay, so this person's been at this company for a long time. Okay, all right, so they've risen through the ranks, if that makes sense. I want to continue on because I can't believe we're already at 30 minutes already. I do want to go to skills overview. I still want everybody to have their skills overview at the bottom of their resume. Some people have it at the top. It's fine. I'm not going to argue with you on where you put it. You just need a place where you have your skills overview. Kelly, it's good to see you, girl. It's great to see you. I would have your skills overview at the bottom of your resume. This will allow you, again, the whole point of this is to try to get your resume caught up in the Control F, the keyword search that people are doing consistently with your resume, right? A lot of people don't put this here, right? That loses out on the opportunity to get caught up in the search more. All right. Degrees, I would still have your degrees down here and any certifications as well. That, for the most part, is how you write a good resume, right? I don't want 2 columns, right? It should be at the top. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. If you want to have your skills overview at the top, that's fine. Again, I'm more concerned from a formatting perspective is it needs to be all in line like this, not double columns. If you want to put the skills overview at the top versus the bottom, that's fine. But I think the areas that I have here on the resume are super, super important. If there's any questions as we wrap up here, please ask them. I know there's a delay here. Chris goes, it can be confusing when the company you've worked for has been acquired or combined, may appear like you switched it up. Right. So what I would do if your company has been acquired, right? So what I would do, so for example, like Torque, right? So what I would do is I would do Torque, and then I would do parentheses Ronstad Digital. Right. If I was ever on the job search, not that I'm ever going to be on the job search, Lord willing, the creek don't rise. That is how I would write, because Torque was technically bought out by Ronstad Digital. Right. So that to me signals, okay, to me as a reader, that goes, okay, he's at Torque, but it's also been bought by Ronstad Digital. That is how I would put it from that perspective. Any other questions? New company, former ORs. Yeah. I like that too. Chris Collins, new company, quote, formerly old company or old company. Yep, exactly. That's kind of how I just wrote it. Okay, perfect. Also too, you know what? I'm going to add one more thing, which I think in the sea of AI is actually going to help. I would have one line. This is a controversial take. I would have one line of what you like to do outside of work. To me, and what I've talked to with hiring managers right now is that there's a lot of AI slop out there with resumes. If you have a hobbies portion, it shows that you're a real human being. I originally was like, there's no need for that. A few years ago, I've changed my tune on it now, right? So for me now, I think it's incredibly important to have I'm not saying you need a bullet pointed out list. I'm not saying you need a bullet. It is. So for me, I would say literally I would go average golfer, ice hockey player, own 4 horses and a mini donkey, right? So like just give the hiring manager, right? Kelly's on here. She's a hiring manager. Like give the hiring manager also to it allow to break down conversations, right? I'd probably also put Gamecock football, aficionado or whatever, however you spell it, right? Gamecock football, right? Like, so like, for example, like Kelly, right? Cause she's on the chat. I know she's a UGA grad. If she put like, passionate about UGA athletics or UGA football, I would immediately, if I was interviewing Kelly, I would immediately go to that, and we would probably just start talking about the SEC, and it would immediately bond us to that. Shouldn't the certification be at the top or just mention it in the summary? That is what I would put, Amelia. I would put certifications at the bottom and then put the ones that are applicable to the job in the professional summary portion, right? For the most part, certifications don't carry a lot of weight. I know they still carry a lot of weight in the cloud space. I'm sure somebody will, maybe there's some stuff in the AI space. I don't know. But for me, I would put your certifications at the bottom. And then I would literally put maybe, so let's say you're an AWS certified or Azure certified or something like that. I would put it in the professional summary because that really relates to your role, specifically what you're trying to apply. All right. That is how you write a resume. I think it's very straightforward. Please follow this format. Please follow this format. No dual columns, no colors, right? I know some people like to add colors. Why? Why are we adding colors? Why? Like, your resume is not a portfolio. Your resume is not a personality test. Your resume is a way for people to find, locate, and read your career easily and efficiently for them to call you. If you're a designer, there's Dribbble, Behance, whatever. Like, there's portfolio sites, create a portfolio. Like, your resume is not meant to have color. If you want color, make it very readable and do not let it take away from the content. Again, your resume needs to be boring. Let me say it again. Your resume needs to be boring. It is not. No. Uniqueness, Jeff. Uniqueness of your resume is how well your resume is written, because there's a lot of bad resumes out there. Your uniqueness will come through if your resume is good, not because you use a blue font. No. I disagree with you, Jeff. I love you. I disagree. Draws attention against the mundane. No, the way your resume, if your resume is going to draw attention written like this, not having purple fonts in some places, right? The content is what's going to make it set apart from others, not colors. But if you just are like, I disagree with you, Taylor, my favorite color is purple, I want something to be purple, that's fine. Just make sure it does not pull away from the content. I like what Jason said. Resumes are words. Leave it at that. Let the other things do the things they are supposed to. Yes, if you're creative, obviously have a portfolio site or a portfolio. Barrett comes in. One thing I've learned, make your resume simple, because if it's fancy, all the job sites will parse your resume. Yeah, that's another thing, right? Like, if you get too fancy, it's going to hurt you when you go through all these systems, right? Again, your resume is just a place where people can find, locate, and read your background quickly, efficiently, and then call you, right? Also, too, I also realized I did not put, so another thing too that I did put here, if you want your phone number, that's fine. If you want your phone number, yeah. So there's a doc available somewhere. Yes. If you go to torqueresumetemplate.vercel.app, I just created this because I like to create more work for myself. Jason rolled his eyes at me in a one-on-one. Jason already created it. I just did this for myself. Yeah, Jeff, do as I say, not as I do. Do as I say, not as I do. But yeah, is the doc available somewhere? Yeah, if you go to torqueresumetemplate.vercel.app. Kelly in here, if I have to study your resume to find what I'm looking for, I'm going to have a bad time. Again, it needs to be simple, to the point, very readable. Cool. All right, sweet. All right, so hopefully you enjoyed this today. Please share this with anybody in your network who needs it. A lot of people need it. I'm just going to say that. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm going to be dissecting LinkedIn's, right? So that is going to be incredibly important. Real quick, Brad, when converting to PDF, the blue links for the LinkedIn, etc., are all good. When converting to PDF, the blue links for LinkedIn are all good. Is that a question? I think so. Yeah, I think so. Also, one more thing. Sorry, I got distracted. Phone numbers. This is up to you. If you want to get called all for job all the time, have your number. For me, I get a lot of spam calls. I don't know about you. I don't even answer my phone anymore when my mom calls. Right? That's a whole mom. Sorry. Right? Like, I get a lot of calls. So I get a lot of unknown numbers. Right? So for me, I would just say, just have a email and keep your phone number off of it. That is going to be your decision. It's not going to ding you either way. For me, I would like to have the way my job search would work. I want everything flowing through my email, and then I can be very I can be very focused on the opportunity I'm reaching back out to. I can get a recruiter's phone number, save it in my phone, so when they call me, that will work. What else? Let's see here. A few more questions. Well, and again, I'm wrapping up. If you have any questions, let me know. If links turn blue, it's not really a big deal. Links are links. But if you change it to black, that's preferred. Yeah, I'm a little bit with Kelly here. Like when I open up resumes and there's a ton of blue links, it's just kind of like, it's just, again, like we all write software for like user experience. Like we want to write good software. Like your resume should be a good experience. And if you have a bunch of links, it just is a little bit of a turnoff. I actually agree. Well, I agree with Kelly on a lot of things. That's why we're friends. But I do agree. I actually think like, listen, if I want to click it, I'm going to click it. I don't need it to be blue. But again, I don't think that's going to ding you either, right? Again, it goes back to the format: professional summary, professional experience. Then it goes into your skills overview, goes to your degrees, certifications, and hobbies. All right, cool. Thanks, y'all. This was great. Again, I'm going to do this for the next 8 weeks, 10 weeks. My goal, hopefully by the end of the next 8 weeks, we will have a catalog of basically, if you follow this, you should be in really good position to land a job. So appreciate y'all. Yeah, I'm a software developer, Jason. I appreciate y'all for hanging out with me today. See you tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Central, on how to write a LinkedIn. Y'all have a good one. And oh, wait, hold on. One call out, Kelly, on here. One call out on numbers on a resume. If you have a legal right to work in a country with a different country code than what you have on your resume, it may cause a recruiter to think you live in a different country and may not have legal right to work, if that makes sense. Causing one call number is if you have a legal right to work in a different. So Kelly, what are your thoughts on that? If you want to comment real quick. So if somebody's in Mexico, so don't include your phone number then, is what you're saying? I wish I could bring people on so I can just have like Kelly like hop in. But yeah, Kelly, expound on this real quick and then we'll wrap it up here. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'm sure Kelly's typing right now. I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to go back to full screen. I'm gonna wait another minute, Kelly, and then I'm gonna hop off. One column numbers on a resume if you have a different. Yeah, I think that's another thing too. I would also say if you live in a big city and you are trying to apply to roles in the city you live in, I think it's important to put your city and your location, just your city and state, at the top of your resume, right? Which you're like, Taylor, that goes against what you just said. I understand that, but Kelly's comment triggered something with me. If you are in New York City and you are applying for jobs in New York City, I know a lot of companies want people in New York City to be in New York City, then I would have New York on your resume if you are applying to jobs in New York. If you are not applying to jobs in your city, then there is no reason to put your city and state and your address at the top. The country code gives recruiters. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So main phone number, sweet. Awesome, sweet. All right, y'all. Well, this is good. Appreciate y'all. See you tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Central. We'll go over LinkedIn's. Y'all have a good one. Peace.